before the Protestant Reformation, right, which is like 14th, 15th century, before the Protestant Reformation, definitely Eastern Orthodox, even some of the Catholic Church, they did have this belief of a deification of Mary. And they did pray to her. They might not have called her God. Right? We don't have evidence of them actually calling her God and saying that there are two gods, there's Jesus and there's Mary. But their actions showed that they were praying to her as anyone would pray to a God. Right? Not simply taking her intercession. Right? You take intercession we take intercession from our prophets and imams with the permission of God himself. So it's different than that. It's even more than that. Actually praying directly to Mary. Right? Asking her to fulfill certain needs as though she's independent of God and so forth. Right? So before this Protestant Reformation, which the Quran was revealed much before that as well, up to that time it was a common practice amongst existing Christian groups that they would act as though Mary was also a deity alongside Jesus. Right? So that's why the Quran is attributing this. So it doesn't necessarily mean that Christians are saying Mary is God. Simply the fact that in their actions they're showing that I act as though I believe Mary is God. That's good enough for this verse to be true. Jesus' response again is exemplary. Right? Another instance where we see how the prophets are so incredibly careful with every single word they speak, especially when they're dealing with Allah. These false kind of accusations that the Bible makes against the prophets, and also the false accusations some Muslims make against the prophets, are absolutely unfounded. Right? Even Muslims will find. So I told you about Sunnis sometimes. They have these Jewish traditions that have been brought into Islam. Based on those, they'll say bad things about our prophets. Right? Sometimes some of the Sunnis they don't know, so they say these things. Even Shias sometimes. Unfortunately, Shias sometimes hear these stories, and I think it's almost like an effort to try to raise. They think that by lowering the prophet somehow we're going to raise the status of the imams. And so things that we understand are unthinkable for the imam to even think about, we're willing to attribute to the prophets and say, yeah, they must have done because they're just a prophet. It's just Moses. It's just Jesus. That's absolutely the wrong way to think. These prophets were outstanding people. If they weren't, then God wouldn't have sent them. Was there a shortage of good people that He couldn't choose perfect people to send? Right? So the way the prophets are portrayed in the Quran is absolutely outstanding. They never make a mistake, but even you see how precise they are in their words. Sometimes if you know people who are very well raised, like children for instance, young people who are very well raised by their parents, they know all the etiquettes perfectly. They never say anything rudely, they never sit rudely or dress in an improper way. Everything's totally as it should be. Right? Now imagine Allah Himself extending the angels. Right? We know that the angels are the ones who would kind of undertake this training of the prophets. Right? They're raised by outstanding parents. That's part of the philosophy of having father-to-son prophecies and imams. So you have a prophet born to a family of a prophet, right? Whose grandfather was also a prophet, and great-grandfather was also a prophet. So the family is outstanding. Morally, every single way. And then you have Allah fortifying this person with infallibility, with knowledge, divine knowledge. And then you have the angels also there to guard him and to protect him. So you can imagine these people are outstanding people. And we should never be tempted to attribute anything less than perfection to these prophets. And the example is in the sentence itself. So Allah is asking in a very, very frightening way. Can you imagine being asked by Allah such a question? Are you the one who did this? And what would you say? Our first thing would be, no way, I didn't do it. And very rudely we might refute it and say, absolutely not, I didn't do it. And we almost become put ourselves at odds with Allah. Allah saying, you did do it, and I'm saying, no, I didn't do it. Right? Jesus doesn't do that. He doesn't for a second say anything impolite or out of place with Allah. His first response is, immaculate are you, subhanaka. Subhanaka means, I hereby exalt Allah above all imperfection. Right? Allah is too good to have such an imperfection that He would have a son or a daughter or any of these sorts of things. Right? He's too perfect for that. That's what subhanallah or subhanaka means. It does not behoove me to say what I have no right to say. Right? He could have just said, I didn't say it. Right? I didn't say it doesn't mean that I shouldn't have said it. It simply means that I didn't say it. Right? Sometimes you have an argument with someone, they say, didn't you say such and such? And you say, no, I didn't say it. But in the back of your mind, you wanted to say it. He should have said it. He should have said it. Right? So here, he makes sure not to say it. He doesn't say, I didn't say it. He's just saying, I didn't say it, doesn't necessarily negate the fact that it might be proper to say, maybe I should have said it, maybe I could have made it. So here he said, it wasn't proper for me, it didn't behoove me to say something that I had no right to say. So not only did I not say it, but I shouldn't, there was no basis for me to say such a thing. Right? So in a very powerful and polite way, he negates two things in one sentence. Then he says, had I said it, you would have known it. Again, he doesn't say, I didn't say it. He turns it around into praise of Allah. If I had said it, then of course you would be the first one to know. You know everything. Right? It's a very beautiful, very polite way of saying that no, I didn't. Because you know what is in my mind, but I do not know what is in your mind. Right here, there are discussions in terms of tafsir, like God doesn't have a mind. Mind and intellect, these sorts of things are attributes of human beings. And Allah doesn't have a mind. He doesn't have a soul. Like these are attributes of human beings, not Allah. The reason, in Arabic, this is a common thing where you have two sentences and you're comparing two things. You'll use the same word for both of those two things. It's called mushakal in Arabic literature, literary analysis. Right? So don't be thrown off that Jesus is saying Allah has a mind like a human being. He doesn't mean that. What he means is that you know everything that's going through my mind, but I have no idea what's in your knowledge, what's in your knowledge, for instance. You know well all that is unseen. So he praises Allah in a very extreme way, attributing to Allah all knowledge and saying that, if I had said such a thing, if I was guilty of this, then you would be the first one to know that. Okay. The next verse he continues. ما قلت لهم إلا ما أمرتني به أن اعبدوا الله ربي وربكم وكنت عليهم شهيدا ما دمت فيهم فلما توفيتني كنت أنت الرقيب عليهم وأنت على كل شيء شهيد. I only said to them what you had commanded me to say. And so after negating that he said it, now he affirms what he did do. I had two duties that you obliged me to do. One was to preach certain things. So he says, I only said to them what you commanded me to say. What was that? To worship God who is my Lord and your Lord. That's the basic message of every prophet, and that's what he said conveyed to us as well, to his people as well. Again, emphasizing that I'm not the Lord. He's my Lord and your Lord. So don't ever think that somehow I'm the Lord, or I'm part of the Lord, or anything like that. God is my Lord and your Lord. That's one of his duties. The second one, and I was witness over them as long as I was among them. Right? So his second job was to witness the actions of people, the deeds of people. And he says here that he only did this as long as he was with them. Right? What is with them? Does that mean alive? Or with them means here on earth, before the raf, and before the tawaffi. He says, immediately he says, but when you took me from them, فَلَمَّا تَوَفَّيْتَنِي, there's tawaffi again, in the meaning of taking up. When you took me away from them, only you were watchful over them, and you were a witness over all things. And the reason he's saying this is because when Allah sends a prophet as a witness over the deeds of people, it's not as though God takes a break at that point and he looks the other way while the witness takes care of watching people. Allah watches everything, He knows everything, He's watchful over everything. And one of His names is Ar-Raqib. He mentions that name here. Ar-Raqib is the one who's watchful, like a guard who's constantly seeing everything. So Allah is always watching. He's always Ar-Raqib. Whether He sends Jesus or sends Muhammad or whoever He sends salam, as a witness, Allah is still watching behind them, and kind of double checking them. So what Jesus says is